The voicemail came at midnight, urgent and breathless. "Lily's in critical condition," Mom sobbed. "We need your help, your savings now." The words barely registered through my half-asleep haze. My heart pounded. My thoughts scrambled. What happened? What's wrong? I asked, sitting up in bed, clutching the phone like it was a lifeline. "She collapsed," Mom said, her voice thick with panic. "They're running tests. We're still in the ER, but they're saying it's serious. She might need surgery. The insurance won't cover it all." "Honey, I hate to ask, but..." I didn't let her finish. "Of course," I said, already reaching for my laptop to transfer the money. "Don't worry about it." "Thank you, Amy. You're saving her life," she said, her voice cracking. By the time I hung up, my wedding fund, $15,000 saved painstakingly over the past 3 years, was gone. The next morning, I woke with a foggy sense of dread but pushed it aside. This was Lily, my baby sister. No amount of money mattered compared to her life. Still, I was anxious. I called Mom to get an update, but it went straight to voicemail. Later, while scrolling through Instagram, I nearly dropped my phone. There was Lily, beaming at the camera, holding a champagne flute in one hand and a shiny new designer bag in the other. The caption read, "Cheers to new adventures in style." My blood turned cold. New adventures? Just hours after supposedly being in critical condition? I scrolled further. More pictures from the same night. Lily laughing with her friends, posing by a pool, and, what was that? A boarding pass peeking out of her bag. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Had I imagined the phone call? I replayed it in my mind, my mother's frantic voice echoing. No, it wasn't a dream. But if Lily was fine, then what had I just paid for? I called Mom again. This time she picked up. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, her tone casual, almost cheerful. "How's Lily?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, much better," Mom said quickly. "It was a close call, but the doctors say she'll be fine." "That's great news," I said. "So, what exactly happened?" There was a long pause. "It's complicated, honey. She was dehydrated and stressed. But everything's under control now." Dehydrated? Stress? That didn't sound like a life-threatening emergency. "Mom, why does Lily's Instagram look like she's on vacation?" "What?" Mom said, her voice sharpening. "I told her to keep a low profile. She's just blowing off steam, Amy. Don't overthink it." I hung up feeling sick. Something wasn't right. Later that day, I called Lily directly. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright and carefree. "Hey, Ames. What's up?" "Lily?" I said, keeping my tone light. "I saw your pictures. Looks like you're having a great time. Where are you?" "Oh, just a little getaway," she said. "Needed to clear my head. You know? Clear your head." I repeated. "Mom said you were in the hospital." There was a pause. "Oh, that," she said, laughing nervously. "It was blown out of proportion. I'm fine now. Totally fine." "Blown out of proportion?" My voice cracked. "Lily, I gave them my wedding fund. I thought you were dying." There was silence on the other end, followed by a heavy sigh. "Amy, don't make this a thing. You're always so dramatic." "Dramatic?" I exploded. "You lied to me. To my face." "I didn't lie," she snapped. "Mom handled it. If you have a problem, take it up with her." I was too angry to respond. I hung up, my hands trembling. For the rest of the day, my thoughts churned. How could they do this? My own family? I replayed the years of being the less favored daughter, the one who always had to work harder, settle for less, make way for Lily's whims. But this crossed a line. I spent the night digging. Bank statements, messages, old conversations. It wasn't long before the truth began to take shape. The emergency was a sham. The money was funneled directly to Lily's latest escapade, a luxury trip and a down payment on her new apartment. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It was personal, cutting deep into every insecurity I'd ever had about my place in this family. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to stop until I got them. The next morning, I showed up unannounced at my parents' house. Mom opened the door, startled. "Amy, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice tense. "We need to talk," I said, brushing past her into the living room. Dad was sitting on the couch, reading the paper. He looked up, his expression neutral, as if nothing had happened. "I know," I said, crossing my arms. "I know about the money. I know Lily's fine. I want to hear you say it." Mom closed the door slowly. "Amy, you don't understand." "No, Mom, you don't understand," I snapped. "That was my wedding fund. Years of savings. And you lied. You told me she was in critical condition. How could you do that?" Dad sighed heavily. "Amy, calm down. It's not as simple as you think." "Really?" I said, my voice rising. "Explain it to me then. Make it make sense." Mom and Dad exchanged a glance. "Lily was under a lot of pressure," Mom began. "Her rent was due, and she just lost her job. We didn't know what else to do." "So you fabricated a medical emergency?" I said, incredulous. "And you thought I wouldn't find out?" "It wasn't like that," Dad said sharply. "We didn't have time to explain. You're always so responsible. We knew you'd step up." My chest tightened. "Responsible," I repeated. "That's what this is about. I'm the reliable one, the one you can squeeze dry whenever Lily makes a mess." "Well, not anymore." Mom's face fell. "Amy, it was a one-time thing. She needed help." "So did I shouted. "This was supposed to be my moment, my wedding. Do you have any idea what you've taken from me?" Mom stepped closer, reaching for my hand. "Sweetheart, we'll make it right. We'll pay you back." "How?" I demanded. "With what money? Or is this just another empty promise?" Dad's jaw tightened, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of guilt in his eyes. But it wasn't enough. "I'm done," I said, my voice trembling. Done being the fallback plan, the second choice. If Lily is the golden child, then let her take care of you. Because I'm out. I turned and walked out the door, ignoring Mom's pleas to come back. I spent the next week in a haze, torn between anger and heartbreak. My fiancé, Mike, tried to comfort me, but I felt too raw to open up. "They've always done this," I said one night, staring at the ceiling. "Lily makes a mistake and I pay the price. I thought it would stop when we grew up. I was wrong." Mike squeezed my hand. "You're not wrong for feeling this way, but maybe it's time to set boundaries. You don't owe them anything." His words settled over me like a weight. He was right. I had to stop waiting for them to change. The next day, I received an unexpected call from Aunt Clara, my dad's estranged sister. "Amy, can we meet?" she asked. I heard about what happened. I hesitated. Aunt Clara and my parents hadn't spoken in years. She was known for her bluntness, a trait my mom called troublemaking. Still, curiosity won out. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. Clara, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s, wasted no time. "Your parents have been pulling this kind of stunt for years," she said. I blinked. "What do you mean?" "They've manipulated the whole family," she said. "I found out the hard way when your dad convinced me to invest in his business years ago. It was a disaster, and I never saw that money again." I stared at her, stunned. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't think it would help," Clara admitted. "But when I heard what they did to you, I knew I had to step in. You deserve better." Her words felt like validation, a crack of light in the darkness. "What do I do?" I asked. Clara smiled grimly. "Expose them. Show the family who they really are. It's the only way to stop them." Her plan was audacious, even risky. But for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. I wasn't alone in this fight. The family reunion was weeks away, a perfect opportunity. Clara and I worked tirelessly, gathering evidence. Receipts, messages, photos. The more we uncovered, the deeper the betrayal seemed. Finally, the day arrived. As relatives mingled in the sunny backyard, I felt a mix of nerves and determination. This was it, the moment to take back control. I stood up during dinner, tapping my glass for attention. I have something to say, I began. All eyes turned to me, including Lily's. She looked radiant as always, blissfully unaware of what was coming. I took a deep breath. For years, I've been the quiet one, the dependable one. But I can't stay silent anymore. I need to tell you what's really been happening. The room fell silent as I laid out the evidence. The fake medical emergency, the misuse of my money, the pattern of lies. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lily's face turned pale. "This is ridiculous," she stammered. "You're blowing things out of proportion." "Am I?" I said, holding up screenshots of her vacation photos. "Does this look like an emergency to you?" Mom and Dad tried to intervene, but the damage was done. Relatives began asking questions, their trust in my parents crumbling. When it was over, I felt both relieved and hollow. I had exposed the truth, but at what cost? My parents were livid, and Lily refused to speak to me. Still, as I walked out with Clara, I felt lighter. For the first time, I had stood up for myself. And no one could take that away. The fallout was swift and brutal. Mom and Dad called me incessantly, alternating between guilt-tripping and outright anger. "How could you humiliate us like that?" Mom hissed in one voicemail. Lily was no better. "You've ruined everything, Amy," she texted. "I hope you're happy." I blocked them all. It was the only way to preserve my sanity. The days that followed were eerily quiet. The storm had passed, but the debris remained. Aunt Clara stayed in touch, offering support when the silence felt overwhelming. "You did the right thing," she told me over coffee. "They needed to be held accountable." "Then why do I feel so empty?" I asked. "Because you cared," she said. "It's hard to cut ties with people you love, even when they've hurt you." She was right. No matter how much anger I felt, a part of me still longed for my parents' approval, for Lily's friendship. But that part of me was shrinking, replaced by something stronger, self-respect. As the weeks turned into months, I began to rebuild. I started by revisiting my wedding plans, scaling back my expectations to fit my new budget. Mike was endlessly supportive, reminding me that a wedding wasn't about the money but the commitment we were making. One afternoon, as I sorted through a stack of invitations, I received an unexpected email from Lily. The subject line read, "I'm sorry, I hesitated before opening it." The message was short, almost curt. "Amy, I messed up. I know that. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. For everything." I stared at the screen, unsure how to feel. Was this genuine remorse? Or just another attempt to smooth things over? I decided to leave it unanswered. Some wounds take longer to heal. The wedding day arrived on a crisp autumn afternoon. It was smaller than I had originally planned, but as I walked down the aisle, surrounded by people who truly cared about me, I realized it was perfect. Clara was there, beaming with pride. "You look radiant," she said, squeezing my hand. "Thank you," I said, tears welling up, "for everything." As Mike and I exchanged vows, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The past no longer held power over me. I had reclaimed my life, my happiness. Months later, I heard through a distant cousin that Lily had moved to another city. Mom and Dad were struggling to repair their reputation within the family. I didn't feel triumphant, just free. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I thought about reaching out, about trying to mend the fractures. But then I remembered the pain, the lies, and the sacrifices I had made to protect myself. For now, distance was the best gift I could give us all. As I stood on the balcony of our small apartment, watching the sunset with Mike by my side, I felt something I hadn't in years. Hope. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And that was enough. Thank you for watching. What would you have done in Amy's place? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't miss our other stories.